One simple subject line I wrote for a client of mine nearly doubled their email open rates in just 2 days. The client runs a business doing tens of millions a year, and even they had this problem. This is a very common problem in that their emails were not getting opened enough. Their open rate was stuck at around 32%. They'd already tried changing send times, messing around with preview text, adding emojis, all the usual stuff. None of that stuff actually moved the needle. And then we changed one line. The original subject line was "Your monthly update is here," and we changed the new subject line to "We found something in your account." And that single change took the open rates from 32% to 67%. And in this video, I want to show you why that works, the behavioral science behind it, and how you could use that same persuasion principle in your own emails without turning into clickbait. Now, the reason this works is because of a principle in behavioral science and persuasion called the curiosity gap. The curiosity gap is what happens when somebody realizes there is something they do not know, but now they feel compelled to find out. And that gap actually creates tension. And when that gap is tied to something relevant to them and something personal to them and something that might matter to them, they want to close it. And this is exactly what this subject line did. If you were to receive an email which says "We found something in your account," straight away you might think, what did you find? Is it important? Is this good? Is this bad? Does it affect me? All these different things you'd think, and that right there is called curiosity. And this is the important bit around using curiosity in your marketing, is that a lot of marketers actually get this wrong. If you create curiosity, you have to resolve it quickly. If you do not, it just becomes clickbait, and clickbait ends up destroying trust. So as soon as they opened that email which generated that curiosity, we answered it immediately. We answered immediately, what is going on here? We said something along the lines of, quick heads up, your usage went up 23% this week, 2 settings are holding you back, and here is exactly how you fix them. So we did not just bait the click. It's really important. We used curiosity to earn attention, and then we rewarded that attention with something useful. And that is the difference between manipulation and persuasion. Manipulation creates curiosity and then it withholds. You see it all the time on YouTube with people who, do clickbait headlines and then they actually don't fulfill on that promise, and it puts people off. But persuasion creates curiosity and then helps the person understand and close the gap of that curiosity. And that is why behavioral science matters so much in marketing. It's about understanding how people think and how they feel and what makes them act, what makes them tick, etc. There are a bunch of ways to use curiosity depending on what industry you're in. For instance, if you run an e-commerce and somebody abandons their basket, it's like one of the biggest problems in e-commerce is that people put things in their basket online, like in the, in the Amazon store, and they don't come back to it. And instead of sending something like, "You didn't buy these items," you could send them an email which says something like, "Do you still want this?" before it goes, right? If you run software and you want inactive users to re-engage, and I've actually used this in one of my own softwares, instead of like an email which says "product update for July," you could try something like, "We changed one thing in your account," right? If you're trying to upsell or move people onto a better plan, instead of "upgrade today" as the subject line, you could have "You may be overpaying for this," right? Now, obviously, the exact wording depends on your business, your audience, and what is actually true. You don't want to invent problems. You don't want to create fake urgency. You don't want to, manufacture drama. That's not the reason people are coming to your business. But again, persuasion only works long term when trust stays intact. And that is why I talk about behavioral science on this channel. Because once you understand the psychology underneath the tension, underneath trust, underneath pricing, decision making, your marketing gets a lot stronger without needing to actually shout later or manipulate people. You understand the principles at play. And the big takeaway here is this was not just a good subject line which took my client from 32% past 60%. It worked because it used persuasion properly. It made their message relevant. These guys had a lot of trust in the market. It created curiosity, and it answered that curiosity quickly. If they would have in the past actually tricked people with a bunch of clickbait, the open rates would have been way lower actually. And I've seen this unfortunately for places who've hired me, who've spent a lot of time manipulating the market. And that is what got the open right there. It is what built the trust, and it's what drove the action afterwards as well. Now, once you've got someone to open your email, that is only half the battle. Your copy inside the email actually has to then persuade them to do something. So I'll break down how to write so customers actually buy in this next video right here. Go ahead and click on that, and I will see you in the next video.